Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. This week, Ukraine is just pounding Russia like crazy, again and again and again, striking extremely valuable targets, dealing actual significant damage that strike Russia to the core. And I feel that Ukraine is fully entering their payout phase of their investment. In the last year that went by, Ukrainians invested heavily into dedicating fighting against Russian early warning systems, fighting against Russian anti-air systems, forcing Russians to relocate air systems to certain areas and move them from other areas, exposing both the strengths and weakness of Russia, that it is big. It is obviously a strength. Ukraine cannot just roll into Moscow and end this war. But it also is a weakness, as there is no chance that Russia, with its limited capacity, can defend everything at once. And that is great news. And I have only one message to say to Russians. It is only going to get worse. Let's start with the Kursk direction. Here, the advances of Ukrainian armed forces are continuing, but obviously the tempo is not the same as during the first weeks of the incursion. Both because of the actual practical reasons, but also some of the analysts, as they have been predicting that the offensive will be slowing down. And to keep up the tempo or increase the tempo as Russia is pouring additional resources to break down the Ukrainian offensive, it's going to be a choice now for Ukrainians whether or not they want to continue working into this direction and pour in additional resources into the area to achieve whatever goals they have, because we don't really know the hows. It is almost guaranteed that the area that we discussed here with the trap that Ukrainians have now fully closed, now it's official, there has been video confirmations. Last time I just said to you that Ukrainians are controlling this area all up to the river. Now there has been absolute video confirmations. So Russians are indeed trapped in this pocket with the river, and they have been destroying bridges, and more importantly, they have been destroying the bridge laying equipment. Here you can see one of the examples where there is this truck in the middle, and then the bridge layer equipment, the pontoon bridge that it was laying out there, is being just struck by the FPV drones. And there are dozens of these videos. Ukrainians are very actively hunting for these crossings that Russia is trying to erect. And there's been also visual confirmation of Ukraine destroying the bridges. It's amazing footage. You should see it. I cannot show it on YouTube because any kind of explosion, damage, or whatnot, YouTube AI algorithms just go crazy and they tag the video, they monetize everything. So go to Discord. We have a dedicated channel where we post videos and updates from the war. You can see it's there. But other than that, the area over here is now completely under Ukrainian control. I don't expect Ukrainians to rush this because, remember, while we as side observers really want Ukrainians just to kind of go in and crush and just take it over, and it's like, yeah, more blue on the map, for Ukrainians on the ground, it is still linked to a risk of people dying, like actual people getting injuries, dying, and so on. So if there is no reason to rush, why would you do this? Like, the main point that Ukraine needed to do to lock this area has been achieved. It's now mostly just a matter of time for the Russians to essentially cook in this cauldron. But yes, Ukrainians have been hammering down on the Russian key strategic assets. One of the assets I mentioned to you last week, was last Sunday in the morning, where there was a strike against the Russian oil depot. It was a huge oil depot with a lot of these tanks, and each of these tanks holding at least 5,000 tons of gas, which is quite expensive on its own, but also people have actually discovered that there is actually aviation gasoline in a lot of these as well. So it's the gasoline that is used for the flight of their Russian combat aircraft, which is burning right now. And it's 6th day right now, and this area is still burning. Russians were able to seclude certain areas to try not to, for the fire not to spread. The issue with that is that Ukrainians have struck again on the sixth day this morning as the Russians were trying to secure certain area of this facility. Another Ukrainian drones have flew in and blew up all of that plan into their face. So that thing is burning, it's burning hot, and it's gonna burn down to the crisp, which is amazing good news, and it's significant damage to the Russian oil and gasoline facility, especially because this is overlapping with Ukrainian strikes against the production of fuel that they've been striking before during the year. A lot of those strikes during the year were against the Russian distillation towers, where the oil is separated in different grades of gasoline, and Ukrainians were striking specifically the parts that were producing this high grade, really high octane types of fuels that could be used for jets and so on. And with additional strike, Ukraine is definitely going against jets. And jets are on the table for sure. The airfield in Volgograd has been struck, and pictures from here are incredible. And you know what's the best part is? So here, Ukrainians have used drones that are filled with tungsten balls. So these tungsten balls are perfect to strike aviation craft, because aviation craft is not protected from any kind of shrapnel. And you can actually see on pictures that the whole areas are just littered with these balls, and there's like holes in everything. Every walls, the metal covers on these airfields like are completely translucent. They look like just a sieve that you use for pasta. It is crazy, and so far there are reports that at least 4 and maybe up to even 6 aircraft have been completely destroyed on this airfield strike. Again, it would be much more useful if US would allow striking with ATACMS missiles. But the strikes have not stopped. During the week, again, Ukrainians have struck the ferry that is transporting fuel to the Crimean Peninsula. And that ferry, I'll just put you a video. This is that ferry operational before it got struck. So it's a big ferry that is connected to the railway network. And remember, Russia is using railway network a lot. That's the main heart of the Russian logistics. So they've been using this ferry to transfer a lot of the fuel and a lot of the equipment towards the Crimea to secure the Crimean front line. Now, this ferry is being decommissioned, means a lot of good things. Dmitry has translated here from the Crimean Wind Channel some really notable discussion about this, and let me read it through for you. So, on the situation with the ferry crossing and fuel supplies to Crimea, 3 railway ferries were operating on the Kerch ferry crossing: Avangard, Slavyanin, and Konrad Raider. The ferry Avangard was hit on May 30th and was seriously damaged. The ship's starboard side was essentially torn apart. Now Avangard is undergoing repairs. It is unknown whether it will return to service. The Ukrainian Armed Forces damaged Slavyanin on July 23rd. This ferry is currently awaiting repairs and is the Sea of Azov. And Konrad Trader sank after an attack that was just happened on August 22nd in the port of Kavkaz, paralyzing the Kerch ferry crossing for an indefinite period. And here's the key part. Fuel is not delivered to Crimea via the Kerch bridge by rail, since the structures are weakened after the explosion on the bridge and the burning of the freight train. They also fear that a missile strike could be launched again to the fuel train. Therefore, our advice, Crimeans, remain the same, stock up on fuel or switch to electric transport. I think we have a business idea and new market for Elon Musk, since he is keen to supplying electric vehicles to Russia anyway. In any case, The point that we're getting is that the bridge, the Crimean bridge, is not being used for a lot of heavy transport, and fuel is not coming over Crimean bridge after the structures were weakened, after Ukrainians exploded the Crimean bridge exactly at the same moment as the train with fuel was crossing it, and there was intense fire with a high temperature that damaged a lot of the core metal structures inside of the bridge due to the heat. So it is significant. The fact that Ukrainians have closed the ferry is very, very significant. And more things are happening. Murmansk region is now being struck. So there is right now reports that additional military storages and bases in Murmansk are being struck. And I want to make sure, like, these are long-range drones that Ukraine is flying. What you don't understand is that Murmansk is 2,000 kilometers away from Ukraine. These are some long-range strikes that Ukraine is conducting, like incredibly long range. So I'm going to show this on the map. And this map, by the way, is brought to you by the Blackbird OSINT group. I will have the link to this map in the description from now on all the time. So please use it if you want. So the strikes were as follows, and I'm just going to show you on the map. So the Kerch Bridge, you know exactly where it's located. It's located near Crimean Peninsula. Then the strike on the airfield happened somewhere around this area in the Rostov region. The strike on the fuel facility happened somewhere around this area, around Volgograd. Maybe it was a little bit further north. I'm remembering right now from my head. So that's in that area that is to the east of Ukraine. And Murmansk is located all the way up here near Finland. Do you see it here? Yes. This is 2,000 kilometers. It's far away. So Ukrainians are striking facilities and military installations all across Russia. And because Russia is now so scattered with their responses of Ukrainians striking here, there, everywhere, they do not have enough anti-air systems to supply and defend everything. This is especially clear when we look at the situation Kursk region to kind of complete the cycle, is that we see that not only Ukrainian aviation were used, because I was a little bit skeptical as we saw certain strikes against these bridges over the river in the area that Ukrainians have isolated. But no, we have seen more and more and more videos, and even videos of Ukrainian attack helicopters executing close air support missions around this territory. So Ukrainian aviation is active in this area. So despite the fact that, again, Russians are trying to throw dust and gaslight everyone about how big and great nations they are, about the Indian prime minister coming in and stating, oh my God, you obviously will need to negotiate with Russia. Yeah, frick off. Ukrainians are destroying Russian capabilities. They are able to utilize their strength, and as more and more F-16s will come in, the more and more the lack of anti-air systems is going to become the deterministic factor of Ukrainian victories on the front line. And that is great to hear. And it's already is being reported. I've explained a lot. What right now Ukraine is 2024. Ukraine is a full defensive stance. Ukraine is stating that we are trying to defend our land because we're having the lack of supplies. We had some issues with reinforcements. The production facilities on the Allies side are not yet fully operational. So 2024 is our defensive years. And I stated that while it seemed at the first start of the year that Russians are attacking, we are going to see Ukrainians counterattacking. While Ukrainians will be defending, we will see Ukrainians attacking Russians where Russians will not expect it, where they will be weakest. It's not offensives per se, but it will be bites and counterattacks against Russians, showing that no, it's not a one-sided battle as Putin tries to paint it. And while all of the Russian bots wants to gaslight you and explain to you is like, ha ha ha, we are just attacking Ukraine, all of that Kursk operation is for nothing. No, no. We are here seeing that the 3rd Assault Brigade is stating that in their area of operation, around Kremina Forest, around the Marinka direction, which was located right over here, where Ukrainians are counterattacking and regaining territory in supposedly the front line where Russians were always advancing, that Russians were always controlling. And now the 3rd Assault Brigade stating is like, no, we are kicking Russians' butt. 2024 is still going to be defense year for Ukraine. So despite everything that is happening, we should not expect that Ukrainians will just change the pace of the war. It's a year of buildup. It's a year of attrition for which Russians have been dedicating too much. Russians put all of their resources to paint the pictures that they're completely victorious, that Ukrainians are not able to do anything, that everyone should abandon Ukraine, that the Indian Prime Minister needs to come in and try to convince Zelensky to sign some kind of negotiated agreement with Russia, to which Ukrainian armed forces, Ukrainians, and everyone that in the world that is not a Russian shill says one clearly definitive things. This war is going to end one way and one way only. Russia getting the fuck out of Ukraine, and it will be either on Russia's own will, or we're going to make sure that Russia is carried out, every single Russian is carried out of the Ukrainian territory. There has been also reports that Ukrainians have started some kind of a operation in Bryansk region, which is potentially, so Bryansk region is like closest to Belarus, it's somewhere around here, but it was not confirmed. It was like just light Ukrainian strikes against Russian early warning systems, so this was just Russians panicking once again. And then to finalize on a very, very nice note, it is Ukrainian Flag Day, and tomorrow is Ukrainian Independence Day. I'm hoping I will release video as well tomorrow. But in any case, if I don't do, I want to congratulate all of the Ukrainians. The blue and yellow flag has started meaning freedom, democracy, fight for our rights, fight for the future. It's the flag of new idealistic vision for what democracy in Europe should be. Probably, I'm not sure about US, but in Europe, for sure, this is now the flag that defines how we should be in Europe and what kind of Europe do we want. It redefined what it means to peace, never again. And important lessons for us is already understood in the Northern Europe. I'm hoping it will be understood in Germany. I am not sure that it will ever be understood in the SPD in Germany, but I still can hope for it. And this, the hope, the ambition is what we all strive for and what Ukrainians are striving for. So I want to ask everyone that has the option to help finalize our donation goal to reach this until the end of August. I know Jake is doing his campaign and we're going to jump to it as soon as it's over. And this channel is not as big as Jake, but this achievement is already monumental. This channel, over 2 years, we gathered approximately $500,000 before. Now, within a couple of weeks, we did a lot. We almost doubled this. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you for everyone that is donating to Ukraine. Thank you so much for supporting Ukraine. Thank you so much for liking, sharing this video. Trust in Ukrainian armed forces. I love you. Slava Ukraini, and I see you next time.
And finally, we have arrived to see 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, the catalyst of this fundraiser. The package, as you can see, is absolutely massive. We have 28-inch FPV drones. We have 10-inch 5 drones, I believe. We have 2 matrices 30T. We have 2 very powerful jammers. We have 2 big EcoFlows, 2 small EcoFlows, 2 generators, 2 Starlinks, Avengers, and the anti-drone gun. We would like to extend biggest thanks to YouTube channels Ukraine Matters, Warthog Defense, and Combat Veteran Reacts. Thank you so much for your continued support of our fundraisers, and especially of this fundraiser. Without you, it would have not been this massive. And thank you to all the donors who made this package possible and all the other packages too.
Ми, бійці 22-ї окремої механізованої бригади, висловлюємо подяку за надану допомогу благодійному фонду Ukraine Aid Ops та особисто Римі. Дякуємо за надану допомогу. Вона допоможе нам виконувати бойові завдання у Курській області. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!